Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Off-Farm Income Podcast. Thank you very much for joining us for another Tuesday edition episode. This is episode number 890. Well, everybody, just a brief announcement. Got a survey out there. Another survey I'm doing, and another chance for you to win a free $50 Amazon gift card provided by moi, by the Off-Farm Income Podcast. If you follow me on Facebook, the Off-Farm Income Facebook page, that survey is up there on the page. Otherwise, it will be in the show notes for today's episode and about 4 previous episodes and all the episodes going forward for about the next 2 weeks. And if you cannot find it in either one of those 2 places and you'd like to take it, then just shoot me an email at matt@offincome.com, and I'd be happy to send it to you and make sure you get it. And what I'm doing is I want to know how impactful my advertising, these sponsorships for La Crosse and for Powder River are being. What kind of impact it's having on you, if your behavior has changed, if you already knew about companies like La Crosse and Powder River, those types of questions. And I am more than happy to reward one of you with a $50 Amazon gift card for taking the survey. Now, I have done this multiple times in the past when we do our end of the year surveys, our fun kind of Farm Aggie Award surveys that we do, and those gift cards have always been sent out. I am for real. I am a man of my word. And so, hey, you have got a very legit chance at getting a free $50 at Amazon just by taking this survey. We sure hope you will, because even if you don't get the $50, it is going to help us out here at the podcast quite a bit. So please do that. You can find it on our website. You can find it on our Facebook page. The website's offincome.com. The Facebook page is Off Farm Income, and we would really, really appreciate that. And speaking of our sponsors, today's show is brought to you by both La Crosse Footwear and Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. La Crosse Footwear, done right since 1897. La Crosse Footwear has been making quality boots for hunting, working, and tending the land for over a century. Of course, we use the Alpha Range boots every day here on our farm, and we want you to do the same. And then Powder River Livestock Handling Equipment. There just is no finer livestock handling equipment when it comes to squeeze chutes, calf tables, sweep tubs, panels, whatever it is you need. You can find it there at powderriver.com. We are proud to have a Powder River squeeze chute and livestock panels here on our farm for our cattle, and we want you to do the same there as well. Let your local farm and ranch retailer know you want to see Powder River, that Powder River green, in their sales yard, so you can have the finest in livestock handling equipment as well. All right, well, jumping into our Tuesday edition episode. So, man, I don't know what's got a hold of me today. I've got a little bit of a rant I want to do. And I want to touch on some concepts that may be holding you back. If you are still sitting there wondering how in the world you're ever going to accomplish this agricultural, this farm-based, this ranching-based lifestyle that you are looking for. And I got a couple rants. Before I get into those rants, though actually those probably aren't the rants. This is the rant. Just something I noticed. Now, this whole coronavirus thing's been going on for a while, and I have kept my nose out of it for the most part. We haven't talked much about it on the show other than just how it's impacting and changing our lives and things like that. And I'm going to tell you the mask deal. So where I live, we are knee deep in wearing the masks. Everybody's got a mask on everywhere you go. And I'm not here to say that the science is bad. I don't know what science there is regarding these masks. I've heard everything you could think of. But I'm not here to say that should I say mandates or should I say suggestions by our state and local governments to wear these masks. I'm not going to sit here and say they're wrong, because to be honest with you, I'm a very busy person, and I do not have the time to do my own independent research to the level that these people have on this mask debate. I don't have the time, and therefore I don't have the credibility to speak up on whether this is right or wrong. But I will tell you this. There are moments in time when I see people wearing masks, or when I go into establishments and masks are required, or there's some arbitrary rule requiring a mask, and you look around and you realize it's pointless, but you're getting told by employees or you're getting told by somebody else that you must have this mask adorning your face. And here's what's occurred to me, because so many, what I'm talking about here is business. And it's been very, very interesting to me to look at all these small businesses that are out there that are requiring these masks, and they are adamant about that. Now, think of who owns these small businesses. We are talking about very independent people. We are talking about entrepreneurs. We are talking about risk takers. And they are out there and they're doing the government's bidding for them. There is no more independent person in the world than the American entrepreneur. There is nobody more independent, nobody more self-reliant than the American entrepreneur. Yet we've got American entrepreneurs all over the place who, under circumstances where it is so obvious it makes no difference, are requiring people to wear masks, and they are adamant about it. And I got to thinking about that, and I got to thinking about my time in Germany. And I've only been there once. We did one big family vacation. We've been over to Europe one time, and the focus was Germany. And one of the things that stood out to me so much when we were there was when we did this bicycle tour in Munich. And our guide for the bicycle tour was an American expat, and there was about 25 people on the bicycle tour, and about 11 of us were from the United States of America. And as we were getting ready to leave on these crappy old bikes, he stopped and he said, "How many Americans do we have in the group here?" And, the 11 of us or whatever raised our hands. And he said, "Okay." He said, "Everybody, please bear with me. For my American guests, I want to do our safety briefing." And he directed this only towards the Americans. He said, "Here's our safety briefing. We're not providing you with helmets. You don't have any other safety features. This is Germany, and in Germany we have something called, I forget, I'm paraphrasing, something like a common sense law or something like that, which essentially says if you're going to go out and you're going to ride a bicycle in the streets of Munich in a large city, then you should, by all common sense, understand that you're taking a risk. And therefore, if you get hurt while conducting this activity, that is on you. That is not on the company that rented you the bikes. That's not on the person who is guiding you around. And it's certainly not on the city of Munich, the state of Bavaria, or the country of Germany. That is on you. It is called common sense. And we noticed that at hotels when we were in Germany. You could open the windows. Yep, you could fall right out and die on the street below you. But common sense. And a lack of litigation compared to what we have here in the United States. And so as I look around at these companies, these entrepreneurs, these self-reliant people here in the U.S., these people who just want to go out and they want to fend for themselves, and I see how much they are doing the bidding of the government with these regulations, it has dawned on me that through litigation and through lawsuits in this country, I'm going to say unwittingly, this is just a happy little, any of you ever watch Bob Ross do any painting on public television? This is just a happy little accident for people who enjoy giving more and more power over to the government in our country. And the happy little accident is that through all the litigation and the way we sue people and the way our legal system works, especially on the civil side here in the United States, the happy little accident is we have given a ton of power over to the government. Unwittingly. Now, I would love to hear feedback from you, and you straighten me out on this, but I have thought about this, I've observed it, and I don't see how I'm going down the wrong road here. Think about this. I live in Idaho, a very conservative state. We've had some mandates, but we've also had some suggestions. But the mandates we've had around coronavirus and mask wearing and things like that, they have not been strictly enforced. As a matter of fact, every mandate, everything they've given us that's quote-unquote a mandate, has had all these loopholes built into it. And they tell you what the loopholes are right up front. And so essentially, it's just a really strongly worded suggestion. So you think about these self-reliant, independent entrepreneurs, and you think about them losing their businesses and going broke. They can only have half capacity in a restaurant or whatever that may be, or that people can only be seated outside. They have to wear masks, whatever it may be, even at moments in time when it makes 0 cents. 0 cents. And they do it anyway. And you're like, but you're the most independent, self-reliant people in our country. You're the Boston Tea Party people. You're the people who said enough of this. We're done with it. So what is going on here? And there's not that much, there's not that much strength or that much teeth in these government mandates, or in some cases just government suggestions. So why are you so adamant? Why are you so ready to jump on the government bandwagon and adhere to this particular mandate or suggestion? And it's lawsuits, right? It's the fear that if they don't, and then somebody comes down with coronavirus or whatever that may be in their business, and they can trace it back to their business, they're going to get sued into oblivion. So these small businesses are slowly dying, slowly fading away, losing revenue, and instead of dying all at once in a big lawsuit, they're going to die over the course of 6 months or a year, whatever it may be. They're slowly dying and fading away because of fear of lawsuits. Now, why do I attribute this to government regulation? Why do I say this is a happy little accident where people who like the government to have more power are winning? The reason I say this is because think of the lawsuit. Think of the lawsuit. Now, if somebody came into your restaurant or your hair salon or your motorcycle shop or whatever tomorrow, and they caught the flu, and they got really sick from the flu, they wound up in the hospital, they lost their job, they lost their, I don't know, whatever happened to them. And they turned around and sued you and they said, I caught the flu in so-and-so's hair salon, and look at what it cost me. And I need to be made whole for what I lost. They're going to get laughed out of court. We live with the flu every single year. We live with the common cold. Flus turn into pneumonia. So do colds. They turn into horrible things. People die from the flu. Right? If they turn around and sue you for that, they're going to get laughed out of the courtroom. It's not going to go anywhere. But now think about coronavirus. Once the government comes out and says, you must do X, or we strongly suggest that you do X. Now, when somebody gets coronavirus in your business and they go to sue you, what is Exhibit A? Exhibit A is the government said that by all best scientific data, by the way, whether or not what they're saying is right or wrong, they've been wrong a million times on this already, and so is everybody else in the peanut gallery. Don't get me wrong on this. But Exhibit A is the government said you must do X. You must require masks. You must require social distancing. You can only serve people at half capacity. You can only cut hair out in the alleyway or whatever it may be. And you took a stand based on common sense and said, no, we're going to do it this way. It's my business. It's a free country. And now you get sued. Exhibit A is the government said you shouldn't have done it that way, and you willingly violated the government mandate. Now, the government doesn't need to send special officers out to enforce all of this stuff. They are exerting control over small businesses by this happy little accident. And that is the fact that we're so litigious in this country, and we will sue each other for anything in order to just get money. Man, values, where are they? Just to get money. We will ruin somebody else just for money. Now, I'm not saying all of us, and I'm certainly not saying this audience. Okay, so I guess I am on a rant. Just to get money. And so it's that threat. We have allowed such egregious lawsuits to go forward and to succeed in this country over time that now, if the government tells you should do something and you don't do it, and somebody somehow sustains some form of injury, whether that be illness or something else, as a result of you not following this government suggestion, that is Exhibit A. Hey, the government told you to do it, and you're outside. You're not conforming with the societal norms. You're not doing what our elected officials declared that you should do. You were warned. You should have known. And so I look around at all these super independent, the most self-reliant people in our country, and I see them just, man, they are dotting the I's and crossing the T's. Individual people are not doing this, by the way. Look around when you go out. Individual people are not doing this. Yes, a lot of individual people are wearing the masks and doing stuff like that, but they are not so strictly adhering to dotting the I's and crossing the T's when it comes to these regulations on coronavirus. And so you wonder, but what's going on with these businesses? They are so afraid of getting sued because that's what we do in this country. They are so afraid of getting sued by something that may not even have anything to do with their place of business. But if somehow they can point, if somebody gets coronavirus and they get injured and somehow can point back to that business and draw a correlation, and then Exhibit A is the government told you shouldn't have done this, but you allowed it to happen anyway. Case closed, case dismissed. Now I realize it's not, I'm oversimplifying this to the nth degree. I understand that. But think about that for a minute. Think about the teeth in the plaintiff's lawsuit if you didn't comply with everything the government told you you should do on the basis of safety for other people. And to me, that is a huge power grab by the government. We've given over a ton of power to our local, state, and federal governments by the mere fact that all they have to do is make a suggestion, and now they are a star witness for the plaintiff in court. Disagree? I would love to hear from you. The email address is matt@offincome.com. And yeah, please send me a message. I'd love to hear a counter argument to that. But I am convinced that is what's going on. All right, well, continuing with the rant, and I kind of got into it there, talking about the fact that we will, in this country, we seem to be willing to sue each other for anything, no matter how egregious the lawsuit is, just because there's possibly some dollar signs on the other end of this lawsuit. Do you know, you guys probably all are the same as me. I get notifications, the pace is picking way up. I get notifications, I don't know, at least once a month, but maybe more, of some class action lawsuit that's going on somewhere, and I've bought some product, and if I'm willing to fill out my thing and send it in, I might be entitled to some money on some class action lawsuit. I have no interest in that, but I get them all the time. If you're curious about the use of the legal system in lawsuits as a tool for making money, you should check out, just do a Google search for Adam Carolla and patent trolls. This was going on about 8 years ago, I think, 6 years ago, something like that. These people, just research what a patent troll is. Patent, P-A-T-E-N-T, a patent troll. It's amazing what goes on. And it is giving a ton of control to the government because all they got to do is make a suggestion. Okay, so in that rant, I said it's amazing what we'll do just to get money. I want to talk about this for a minute. Now, many of you probably know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. If you don't, and you don't mind the F word, he is a very inspirational, super intelligent, just purebred entrepreneur. No question about it. And I've read a couple of his books. I listen to his podcast. I'm always entertained. I'm always inspired and motivated when I hear him. And I was checking out a YouTube video of him over the weekend. Sometimes when I'm out irrigating, I'll pop on a video or a podcast. I'll listen to it on a wireless speaker, a Bluetooth speaker. By the way, going out and working on the farm, I used to listen to my iPhone podcast or whatever that would be just in my front pocket on the speakers of the iPhone. And then I found these JBL, I found a little speaker, a Bluetooth speaker called a JBL clip, and it's got a little belt, not a belt clip, just a clip on it. I clip it around my belt loop. And I mean, I'm a huge dork when I do this. So I don't want you to think this is cool. This is very uncool. But I walk around irrigating, feeding, doing work on the farm with this thing clipped on my belt loop, and I can listen to something, and I'm not struggling to hear it. And so I listen to podcasts and YouTube videos and stuff like that when I'm out working. Well, I was listening to this one with Gary Vaynerchuk, And he was talking about, because he mentors thousands of people in terms of them wanting to become entrepreneurs and find the way into their own business. And he made a statement on his show, which I loved, which was, you better be careful if you come to me, and it's amazing what he'll do. The guy's got a ton of energy. He's got thousands of people, hundreds of thousands, let me clarify, hundreds of thousands of people that follow him, maybe millions. And if somebody reaches out to him on a social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it may be, and they say, how in the world can I possibly become an entrepreneur? I can't pay all my bills. I don't have any extra money to invest into a business, even to bootstrap something, whatever that may be. He will legitimately go on their social media profiles and start checking out their pictures. And what he said on the interview was, he'll call them out. If he gets on there and he sees that they've got like a $400 purse, or they've got picture after picture of them with $7 or $8 coffees in the morning, or something like that, he will call them out and say, I think I solved your problem. I know why you don't have the money to start up a business. I know why you don't have the money to bootstrap something. And I heard him say that, and I am not that aggressive, nor am I that direct, but I loved what I heard because that is true. And it's an aspect of our culture that bugs me. And I want to talk to you about it for a minute, because my hope is that the bulk of you in my audience, you've got something you want. And part of the reason you're here is because you're trying to find a way to make it happen. Now, I do not have a large farm. Here's what I do have. I have 100% of my working life on my farm, 100% of my time on my farm, and I've got a farm business that's profitable. I do not have a farm business that is profitable enough or that makes enough money to support my household. Therefore, I still need a form of off-farm income, and thus we have the podcast. Now, my goal is to be the person who's holding the lantern ahead of you on the path and showing you the way to make this happen. Let me touch on a couple hard subjects really quick. 2 terms that can destroy your ability to achieve your dreams. Now, I am in the middle of what I used to dare not dream about, and now I've got that lifestyle. I've got total freedom. I've got a farm, and I spend all my time here unless I don't want to. I don't have to commute. I don't have to fight traffic. I don't have to request permission from anybody in the world if I want to go do something. My time belongs to me. That was my dream, and I'm in the middle of living it. And I've got new dreams developing as well and things I'm working on. But with that said, here are 2 terms that can deprive you of your dreams, no matter what they are. The first term is materialism. The second term is consumerism. Now, I want to define both of these. Now, both of these terms have, and you, of course, you've heard them, especially materialism. Both of these terms have different definitions. I'm going to read you the derogatory definitions of these 2 terms. And not to be negative, but I'm using these terms in the derogatory for this episode. I'm going to start with materialism. Let me read this to you. The highest values or objectives lie in material well-being. Now, when I read that, what I hear is this syndrome of keeping up with the Joneses, that type of thing, right? You are deriving your value, or you are trying to project an outward appearance of some level of success or something like that through the possession and the display of material objects. That's how I hear that. That is how I read that. Materialism. The good old keeping up with the Joneses. Now, I've got to tell you, I think that this concept has been around for a long, long time. It's not necessarily unique to the United States, and it is not unique to our time right now. Materialism is certainly something that has been going on for quite some time with people trying to display a certain level of success. And by the way, the only reason people do this is because they care what other people think about them. Right? We should all get better at that. I'm on that list too. We should all get better at not caring about that. By the way, I am getting better about that, and it just makes my daughter insane. But she's 14. She cares about what other people think about her. Okay, so materialism, keeping up with the Joneses. Now this next term, consumerism. This is one that was actually kind of new to me in the last 5, 6, 7 years. And so this may be new to you as well. I'll read you the derogatory definition here of consumerism. The preoccupation of society with the acquisition of consumer goods. Now, this is the one that I think is the worst. Okay, let me explain to you why I think this is worse than materialism. First reason, materialism, while not a great thing, can drive you towards success. There are multiple different motivations for people to go out and start their own business, work tons of overtime, get a higher paying job, achieve higher levels of education, do whatever it is you need to do that will make you more successful, more financially independent. Sometimes that motivation is, I want that truck. Sometimes that motivation is, I want that car, I want that vacation, I want that farm, I want that bull, I want that ram, whatever it may be. Sometimes that's the motivation. Sometimes materialism will motivate you and help you to achieve more. And so in some ways, in some cases, materialism can be a very good thing because along a lot of your paths to being able to acquire this material thing you're after, you might be starting businesses. Maybe you're creating jobs for other people. Maybe you're running, a socially, like a benevolent type entrepreneurship where you're giving back into your communities or something like that. So materialism, to me, is less of a negative than consumerism. So let's talk about consumerism for a moment. Think back to your grandparents or your great-grandparents. Think back to your grandparents, the way they lived after the Great Depression, after World War II. So through the late 1940s, the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I think the 90s is when this started to shift or maybe get into high speed. Think of the way they lived. Were they out buying stuff all the time? Was their house just overflowing with stuff? I can't even define it. Just stuff. No. I can think back right now to both of my grandparents' homes on both sides of the family, not overflowing with stuff. And they weren't buying stuff every time they made a trip to town, went to the grocery store, whatever that may be. But look at us today. Look at us today. Now, I am not saying anything negative about Walmart. They are brilliant in the way they do business, although Amazon is now changing the dynamic of so much of this. But think about Walmart for a second. You go to shop for your groceries at Walmart because they are so inexpensive. While you're there, you are bombarded with the opportunity and the encouragement to buy stuff. You need a new bathroom rug. How about a new set of towels? Oh, that's kind of a neat Halloween decoration. Oh, well, I mean, if you're going to get that, why not get a big blow-up pumpkin for the front yard? And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm hitting on something that you like to do. I'm not calling you out personally. I'm just giving examples. But think of all the stuff you can pick up at Walmart. Stuff that's inexpensive, that you never had the opportunity to get 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Me going to town, going to the grocery store with my parents when I was a kid, there wasn't no stuff getting bought. It was just food. That was it. And by the way, back then, it was a black and white label generic. And I cared about what people thought about me, and I was embarrassed by that. But anyway, we were buying generic food. I mean, that was it. In a crappy car, a piece of junk car. But now today, with the manufacturing and things that goes on overseas, the cheap labor that can be found in places like China and India and Thailand and all these places, think of all the stuff you can buy. And so our houses are loaded with stuff. Oh, that looks cool. That'd be fun for the kids. I'll hang that on the wall. That'd be a cool decoration. Oh, that's cute. Blah, 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 blah. Stuff we don't need. We don't need it. We don't need it at all. Don't need it at all. And all of a sudden, this feeds on itself, and we do become preoccupied with acquiring consumer goods. Not things we need. Just stuff. It's not even materialism, because half of this stuff is just junk. It is just junk. Junk. We don't need it at all. And we don't strive to acquire it. We don't plan and save and scrimp and work hard and do overtime and do all of that to one day own that. It's just junk. We can pick it up anytime we want because it's so cheap, and we load our houses up with it, and we spend our extra cash on it. Or it all just goes on the credit card, and at the end of the month we go, the heck did I buy? And out goes the window. Hopefully you're not paying interest on those credit cards, but even if you're not, out the window goes more and more cash. So for all of you who are listening to this show, when I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk, he sat there and he made a very powerful argument that for those people who truly want to work for themselves and be entrepreneurs, they should probably sell their houses and go rent. And I was listening to that and I was like, well, you could have never talked me into that, but okay, I'll listen to what you're saying. And essentially what he said is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, why do you live in such a big house? Why do you devote so much of the money every month that you could have that could go towards helping you achieve the lifestyle that you're looking for? Why are you devoting that to paying interest on a house that you don't need? And I got to tell you, folks, I mean, I live in one of the hottest real estate markets in the entire country. And Autumn and I are benefiting from it. We've got rental houses. We've got our farm. I say we're financially, our portfolio is benefiting from it. Now, socially and quality of life-wise, this is not a benefit to me because I do not fit in here any longer. Toughen it out. But if you look, we are eventually going to make money off of what's going on with consumerism here in the United States. But if you look at the houses that people are buying, does it not boggle your mind? My first house, Autumn and my first house, was 1,300 square feet. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a family room and a living room and a decent little kitchen. Now, that's what it was. Oh, and a laundry room too. 1,300 square feet. That house was fine. That house was absolutely fine. I would live in that house today. I would raise the ceilings. I'd like a taller ceiling than that house had. It was built in the 1950s, and I would like a taller ceiling. But I would live in that house. I would plop that house right down here on our farm and get rid of the house that came with this farm. I would do that in a heartbeat and live in that little house. I have got no problems. We heated that thing with the one wood-burning stove. That place was warm. Our gas bill every month was about $11. I got to go cut firewood, split firewood. Loved it. Loved it. Now look at the houses people are buying. Now, if you truly want to work for yourself and you want this lifestyle, you better put it above everything else. You better put it above everything else. You want to farm? You want to work in agriculture and own your own business? You better put it above everything else. Now, I don't mean put it above loving your wife and children, loving your husband and your children, whatever that. I don't mean that. I don't mean putting it above God. But above materialism and consumerism, you absolutely better get used to putting it above that. You should. You absolutely should. You guys, some of you might remember I did an episode 3 years ago. I was driving home. I say driving home. I was driving back to my hometown of Valley Home, California. And whenever I do this, I take the back roads. And I'm driving through all of these orchards, almonds and walnuts, out to the north of Valley Home, to the east of Stockton, California. And I'm driving through this area. It's nothing but orchards. And all of a sudden I come across a place. It was probably 30 acres, and they had pasture. It was completely surrounded by orchards except for the side that faced the road. But the entire place was surrounded by orchards, and they had 30 acres of pasture. I stopped. I took a good look at the place. They had built very, very nice cattle handling and feeding facilities, and they lived in a postage stamp of the house. And I still, to this day, want to meet that person because I admire them. You can tell by what they've got on their piece of property that their goal and their dream is to raise cattle. Because if it wasn't, they'd have an orchard. Because an orchard with a permanent crop like walnuts or almonds is a lot less work and makes a lot more money. So they would have an orchard. B, they did not have some big mansion with some cows running out there. They had a little postage stamp of a house because they were going to be spending all their time out there with those cows, working on that farm and out where they had those cattle handling facilities. But over their squeeze chute, they had built a nice pole barn with a nice roof to shade them in during those hot days when they had to work cattle, and to shade their cattle when they had to get their cattle caught and run them through the squeeze chute, trying to minimize that stress, minimize that heat on those cows. Their money was going towards their dream of raising cattle. And I would venture to guess that their farming enterprise and operation will grow. It's going to grow and expand beyond that original home place, because you can just look at that place and see what their priority is. And I love that. And for those of you who are looking for this lifestyle, man, take God, take family, make those number 1 and number 2 priorities, and then your business and the lifestyle you're looking for, make that number 3. And that means be willing to move. That means stop buying stuff. Stop spending that extra money that you could be saving and using to help your future business, your enterprise, whatever that may be, survive through those lean and dangerous times. All right. I obviously am fired up today. That is 37 minutes of me ranting. I hope that was okay with all of you. Please take our survey, get yourself entered for a free $50 gift card from Amazon. And everybody, thank you so much for letting me do this. I absolutely love it. And as always, enjoy your journey to the ultimate lifestyle business, agriculture.